The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today I'm joined with a guest we've had before, David Tiro Wysocki, with the Freeze Brothers Band. No, actually, it's with the Nackey Loeb communication. Dave and I go back with the Freeze Brothers Band years ago, but you are the executive
director
for the Nackey Loeb School of Communications.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
It's always good to see you.
Great to be here. We'll talk about the Freeze Brothers too, if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Freeze Brothers, Music Matters. By the way, publicly, I want to thank you for coming out and supporting Music Matters. We raised about $6,000 for children. So
nice.
It's just a great thing. Music is a wonderful thing that brings people together.
Yeah.
I tell that to the kids when they come to the Capitol all the time.
Great.
But the Nackey Loeb School of Communication, I actually attended one of the classes there a few years back, and it had to do with social media.
Social media, yeah.
And I think, like we were saying off camera, it was Judy Window.
Yeah.
And she was one of our instructors, and she was basically helping us orient. Back then, there were only about 1,000 social media. Right?
As opposed to a million.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
how to navigate and how to coordinate and have every one of them speaking together and using them. So who'd have known that Nackey Loeb would have a school that would teach you how to do this? So where is the school, and tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, your intro talking about social media is a good way to get into it because that class wasn't at the school in the beginning. But when social media exploded, it became part of communications. We knew we had to add it. But in a nutshell, the Nackey Loeb School of Communications is nonprofit, nonpartisan school that teaches all sorts of communications topics. Classes are taught by professionals who work in the field, and students range in age from 10 to retirees in the same class. You know, the non-profit part is easy to understand. Nonpartisan, we don't teach people what to write and what to take pictures of. We teach how to write, how to take pictures to enhance a story, how to write an editorial. Classes are free. Mrs. Loeb wanted that when she formed the school in 1999. Except for one class. The one class that has a fee is Photoshop, because we have to keep upgrading the software. And we have low-cost workshops. They're usually $50 for a day, including lunch, on all kinds of specialty topics like social media for business, public speaking, writing news releases, those kinds of things. And they're taught by people who do it for work during the day as competitors. Our instructors are from the Nashville Telegraph, the Concord Monitor, Channel 9, NECN, and various other media outlets who all compete but come to the school and cooperate to help pass their knowledge on to students. And you mentioned Judy's social media class as trying to navigate social media. Well, we do that with all the other classes too, and the basic rule is not to teach a lot of theory,
right,
but to teach hands-on.
Practical application.
Exactly.
Yep.
Learn something today that you can use tomorrow.
I did learn how to coordinate my Twitter account, my LinkedIn, my Facebook page, so that if it goes from one page, it'll automatically trigger onto the. That's 3.
There you go.
That's huge, and especially Twitter now. You know, everybody's talking about Twitter and
Yep.
and its usefulness, but it's the new, you know, zeitgeist, if you will, the spirit of the day, the way people are communicating. And how is the media keeping up with this?
Well, that's part of of what the classes are about. When we started, opened our doors in the year 2000 in Manchester. We have our own building, and we had 3 classes. News writing, which I taught, news photography, and the First Amendment. 3 classes, and they were offered, I believe, 3 times a year. Now we have 16 or so classes a year, another 15 or so workshops a year. And you ask how the media is keeping up with social media. It's by incorporating new information, which we've done with our classes. We have social media classes, social media workshops. We also have classes, whereas in the old days, a reporter could show up with a pen and a notebook.
Ooh.
They used to call us the pencil people. I always had a tape recorder because I started in radio, and when I worked at the Associated Press, I filed radio stories as well as written stories. But now, how the media is keeping up is that every reporter comes in, well, with a cell phone or other device that does everything. It records audio, it takes video, they're taking notes, so when a reporter goes back to a newspaper or a radio station, the newspaper people are working on video and audio in addition to the newspaper story.
Right.
The radio person is working on a script to post on a website. So everyone is doing everything, trying to keep up. And I retired from Associated Press in 2009, so I'm going on 8 years. And that was just starting to explode.
It's light years away from that
Yes,
now, it
it's
seems.
totally different. Every reporter has to, you and your viewers may remember years and years ago, there was a skit on Saturday Night Live. And the actor was a reporter supposedly covering the New Hampshire primary. And he had a camera strapped to his chest. He had a football helmet with a microwave dish, satellite dish, and a pen and a pencil, and a microphone. And everyone laughed. That's what it is now.
That was prophetic, actually.
It's exactly what everyone has to do now. And, you know, we don't have a satellite dish on our heads, but everything is in the phone.
So what kind of classes are we looking at that the school has?
Sure. Well, we have a session that begins on January 11th.
Yeah.
Our classes run 6 weeks, and it's 6 Wednesday evenings. And each class is 90 minutes long. So for this first session starting in January, editorial cartooning online, which is another thing we've changed. The class was offered in person for years, and our instructor, Ron Plant, said, let's try this one online. And we did last year, got some good reviews on it. So that editorial class is online from home at the student's convenience. Digital media, the multi-channel approach. It's kind of an expanded social media class. Griffin LaFleur from Silvertech, the web firm in Manchester, teaches that course. First Amendment Media Law with attorney Gregory Sullivan. That class has been here from the beginning.
Right.
Doesn't matter what any of the other classes are. The First Amendment is the foundation for all of them. And Greg has a great First Amendment class. A lot of good debates going on in that class. He'll throw out a question. It's like dropping a hand grenade in the room, and then discuss. So who's right, who's wrong? Is anybody right? Is anybody wrong? Are the responsibilities that go along with the rights? All of things that we'll all be talking about a lot.
Sure.
In the coming days. Broadcasting is a class taught by Andy Hirschberger and Jim Breen from Channel 9. Talks about how broadcast news shows are put together, and there's a tour of Channel 9 included in that. An advanced multimedia storytelling lab. And we call it advanced because it's designed for people who already know basically how to collect tape and how to take pictures. And what the instructors do, they are Don Himsel from the Telegraph and Greg and Jeff Forrester from the Concord Monitor. They teach how to put them together, how to put good audio and good photos together into a multimedia presentation for your website to tell a story. So there's something that, who would have thought of that 20 years ago or 16 years ago when the school started. And Ed Bruder, longtime radio guy in New Hampshire, is teaching digital audio production to teach people how to record good audio, which makes a huge difference. You can't stand in the back of the room and hold a microphone up and hope that it will be good enough. So he teaches recording, editing, producing audio.
And the key thing is you said all these are free,
Yes.
other than Photoshop. Now,
Yes.
on the Photoshop, does that include Macs? Can you use
Yes.
Photoshop on Macs?
Yeah.
And you
Well,
can-
there is
an equivalent, or
yeah, and I'm not the Photoshop expert, but everyone asks that, and there is an equivalent program, and Photoshop itself might also be used on Macs. I should know that answer. I'm embarrassed. that I
are middle
don't.
school, high school kids allowed in this
Yes.
as well? Okay.
Yeah. When the school started, I think they believed it would be geared mostly toward high school journalists, maybe some college journalists. It's turned out that most of our students are adults, and many of the adults work for nonprofits. So they're coming to learn how to better spread their message, their
Right.
nonprofit's message across the state. So we feel like we're getting a double bang for the support that the school gets. Any donations or support the school gets not just supports our programs, but supports nonprofits all over the state.
So there's the foundation also that people can contribute to help.
Yes. There's several sources of income for the school. One is our annual First Amendment event. We have it every fall. The public nominates people who they believe have gone above and beyond in standing up for the First Amendment for the year. And we usually bring in a speaker for that event, and that helps raise money for the school. We own the building on East Industrial Park Drive in Manchester, and we have tenants in the building, a couple of businesses in the building, and Mrs. Loeb's initial endowment for the school. And then registration for the workshops. So that's basically where our support comes from. She wanted the doors to be open to anyone who wanted to learn about communications.
What a legacy.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful legacy. And some of her files are stored there, and I've seen some of the files. They are filled with thank you letters that she wrote to people all the time. If someone wrote a letter to the union leader to make a point about something pro or con, there was a handwritten thank you note out to that person. So she was a very grateful person, and we are just so grateful that she thought of forming this organization. Thousands of people have come through the doors in 16 years.
And it is a nice place to network because you do meet new people there. I just haven't taken that one class, and it was fun. It's fun. People are being challenged, and you're meeting strangers and trying new things, and it is a nice way to meet people. With regard to the kids, the timing of the classrooms, what are they, daytime or are they
Evening.
night? They are
Evening
evening.
classes, yep. 5:30 to 7 and 7 to 8:30 on 6 Wednesday evenings, 3 times a year. The winter session, there's a spring session, and a fall session. So it's after work. People have a chance to get there. And many people take 2 classes per session. So they take the 5:30 to 7 class and then 7 to 8:30. And many, many people come back session after session to take classes.
Now, a typical class, is it 1 time, 2 time, a week long?
It's 90 minutes on 6 Wednesday evenings in a row. So it's 6 classes, 6 sessions of 1 class.
So by the time you're done,
Hopefully you've got it. And some people want to come for more. We had a food writing class last
a food
fall.
writing class.
Food writing. How to write about
A recipe.
food.
Okay.
Reviews.
Oh, okay.
Which everyone has blogs now, and there are a lot of food blogs. So we started a food writing class, which has been very popular, and they came to me and said, can we come back an extra week? At the end of week 6, we want to come back.
No, you got to go home now.
No, well, hey, they came back with food.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
they had a spread with, kind of a potluck that they brought, and they shared their stories, that were assignments in the class. So you mentioned it was fun. Basically, when I welcome the classes, I say there is one rule in the whole place, and that's it. It's
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, it is. It was fun. It was a nice way to network, and don't go there to try to sell anything. Just try to meet people and have a good time. 'Cause some people do that. It's like, come on, just enjoy the class. Try to learn something. With regards to are people who are maybe struggling in secondary school or in schools, can they use this as a remedial class? in some of these?
It's kind of an, I don't know if remedial is the correct word. It might offer more than you'd get in a class, or it might offer a different aspect of what you'd get in a class to help you understand what's going on. If you're taking a writing class, you know, most of the people who take our classes will never have a picture published or a story published. Many do, and I've gotten notes back from folks with clippings, but people write back later and say, I'm a better writer. I'm writing better emails. I'm not wasting somebody's time. I'm doing better assignments at school because I'm getting to the point. You know, in the news writing classes, it's a different language. Writing news is a different language. But the thought is there. I'm writing a story, to not waste your time, because now there are so many channels bombarding you.
Right.
You're gone in a second to something else. But I can't waste your time. I've got to tell you in simple terms, here's the story, and explain it in a straightforward way so that you have the information to make up your mind. That's what goes into our classes. Well, that's what goes into school assignments too. So it's not so much a remedial class as it is kind of an extra class.
Much more of a practical. You might get a certificate saying you finished the class, but
you will.
The practical application is lifelong, life-changing. Actually,
I think so.
Yeah.
My very first semester as an instructor there, we went around a room, of course, to ask what people do, and one person was a teacher. I thought, oh, this is good. My first class, I have a teacher in it. Because I'm not a teacher, I'm a reporter. She had some good suggestions. But I also told, you teach people to read critically. Last class, we hand out an evaluation form, and, the 13-year-old in the class looks at the form and says, who wrote this form? So I don't know, I'll have to talk to whoever wrote that form. What's the problem? And, she was talking, this isn't really clear. Maybe this could be a little bit more understood. Then great, that's perfect. You're reading critically, even though it's an evaluation form that somebody else wrote.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been me.
I have one of those at home. I mean, if they pop by and just see what I'm doing on Facebook, you spelled that wrong. You spelled that wrong. You don't put a comma there. You need a comma. What are you doing? What are you? And it's funny because she's an honor student, right? And she's got a nice Mac Pro for Christmas for being an honor student.
Nice.
But it's funny how brilliant some of these kids are, and how inept I feel. I'm in charge of energy this year at the State House, so it's nice that I have a 14-year-old backing me up back at home.
Well, it's one of the fun things for me is knowing that people are there because they want to be there. Yeah. The classes don't offer credit, which is a whole nother process to go through in order to be accredited. But what we offer is a life skill, and we offer what you mentioned before, which is something that could be life-changing. Someone who realizes, yes, I can be a writer. Because of getting good feedback from one of the instructors who happens to be a writer, with suggestions on how to do something, suggestions on how to approach an editor about selling a freelance story, and those kinds of things. So the fun for me is the students really want to be there, and I mentioned before they range literally from, I think our youngest student was 10, and we have retirees, and they're in the same class.
That's got to be interesting. That's just got to be so interesting.
Yeah.
And listening to the conversation between both, and what a great way for the youth to learn from the elder, and the elder from the youth, and from you as well.
Well, I had to speak to the class. It was a feature writing class, and they had to interview someone to write a feature story about. So the instructor had me come in, and I was talking about being a reporter and some of the stories I'd covered. Any questions? The 10-year-old's hand is up in a second. And I said, was it fun? I don't know that a lot of adults would have asked that question. And that was a huge part of it for me. I said, absolutely, it was fun.
It's an adventure.
Yeah.
Of course it's fun.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, look at this picture. Here's me when I was 19, an intern reporter at a newspaper that had an assignment that 3 elephants were missing from a carnival outside Worcester, Mass. So I drove over there thinking, boy, what am I going to do here? Well, I found the elephant trainer and said, do you need a ride? And he said, yeah. So the guy looking for the elephant's in my car. Who do you think's going to find the elephant? I'm golden. I mean, that was fun. And, I went back to the paper. We found the elephants. And they're saying, who's we? I said, we. I was there. So it is fun.
Yeah.
And she was right up front with that question. And others asked different questions that she learned from. So it's a lot of fun. And it's easy to register. You can go right to the website, which is loebschool.org. Loeb is L-O-E-B, loebschool.org. And you can register for any of the classes all year long or any of the workshops. Registration is open now, obviously, for the winter session that starts on January 11th. And
Every Wednesday night, 6 weeks in a row.
January 11th through February 15th is the first session. Then there's one in March and April that include classes like public relations, Photoshop, the basics, travel writing. Everyone likes to travel. Some people like to write. Well, if you can travel and write, you can make some money, possibly. Or just have fun writing a blog.
I'm usually the paparazzi when we go.
Oh, you could do that too.
Oh my gosh! One day is usually 1,100 pictures, and I'll probably get 5 or 10 good ones. But they all say put your camera away, but then everybody hovers at the end, right? They want to see what you got, right? But learning how to take good pictures and telling a story.
Well, and talk about a change in the media. In the old days, you wouldn't take 1,100 pictures because you had to pay for them.
Right. A lot of film.
You had to play a lot of film. And now you can delete 600 of that 1,100 at the end of the day if you want.
Right.
Because you could see them instantly and you're ready to go.
I think from that class also, because I had taken that social media class, I learned accidentally through my probing on how to make quick 30-second films.
Yep.
And what I would take my favorite, Joe Satriani song, just music, and take clips of Kylie doing lacrosse. And then, of course, we get everybody doing an action thing. And it's really looking like really cool with this really nice soundtrack.
Absolutely.
And then you can load it up onto YouTube. And I thought, wow.
Well,
But I learned that from that.
And that's also what the multimedia storytelling does. The photos are great, and they evoke certain feelings when you see your kid growing up through photos. But put a song you like behind that.
Then you get this big lump in your throat.
There come the emotions.
Right?
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
amazing.
That's exactly what.
And there's a lot of software that helps out with that. But just learning how to piecemeal that all together, throw in a song, and you just capture that moment for a long time. And it's really not difficult. Yeah. Like having somebody guide you through that and learning how to paste and then add where you want your song and just putting it all together. At first it's hard, but then you can put it together and you can tell a really cool story.
Well, Jeff and Don do that in that advanced multimedia class, and I look in the class and they're over somebody's shoulder. Somebody's has a problem maybe recording audio or editing audio. Someone saying, looking at 2 different pictures, why is this one better than the other? How would it be cropped? That's exactly the kind of thing that goes on.
And there's a lot of trial and error if you do it by yourself. So having somebody over your shoulder, just do this. Oh, wow. It just brightens up your whole world. And then you feel like you're the master, when you shared that with somebody and they say, hey, that was nice work.
Well, I was on the phone with Jeff and Don many times. My wife had a great idea. Let's make a 25 birthday video of our daughter. 25 years, so that means maybe 50 seconds a year. Oh no, it could be longer than that. So I made the video, and of course I'm talking to Jeff and Don all the time about editing the audio, and they're saying, how long is this video? It was long.
Yeah. Anything over like 3 or 5 minutes is like, okay.
That's long.
The attention spans. I got to make one for a couple. They were part of a MASH unit. One was a nurse. And the husband was he jumped out of the planes just during Vietnam. It's just real life MASH. Yep. And I've got the videos of them and for her to say, we saw a lot of things. Just the way she expressed her story. She's coming on this show, So I want to put in, make a clip of all her pictures.
Nice.
But stories that should not be forgotten.
Yeah.
You know, and once you immediately show your appreciation, we can make a. It's just because of this training that I can make a little clip.
Yeah.
Really, just by copying. But what a neat thing to offer to the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned telling stories. Let me just talk about one workshop, March 11th. It's a one-day workshop on Saturday, telling your family story. And it's designed for families who want to make sure the family stories don't die, historical societies who are maybe doing town histories, veterans associations who are collecting. And we have the day's cast of characters includes Fritz Weatherby.
He just came to mind as you're saying this. Fritz Weatherby, you know.
Exactly.
We can all have a little of that in us, right?
Telling how he puts his stories together. John Clayton from the Manchester Historical Association now telling how he puts stories together, formerly on Chronicle and columnist for the Union Leader. Meg Heckman, who's now an instructor at UNH, former writer at the Concord Monitor, wrote a book about World War II veterans. Laurie Fisher is a librarian who's also an archivist who talks about how to physically preserve your pictures and documents. And John Graffair, who is a videographer, talking about how to do it all on video. So it's a one-day package to tell how to sit down with somebody, how to do an interview and make them feel comfortable and get their story, and then how to tell it so that it would be interesting for others to hear.
That would be a good class for me, seeing how I interview a lot of people.
Yeah, March 11th, communications workshop, or communications boot camp, actually, in October. Mike Nikitas from NECN runs that. And it's more for the person being interviewed. It's for people who have to deal with the media, but it's a good interviewing session.
I would rather interview all day long. It is the easiest thing to do. Tell me about it, draw it out. But being that person on the other end, you got the lights on you, you've got the answer, you're a lot of things are distracting you. That's why I really try to make people comfortable on the show.
Well, I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you coming on the show.
All right.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. We got about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So again, how do people get in touch with you?
It's loebschool.org, L-O-E-B, school.org, or give me a call, 627-0005. Love to get you registered. There are openings at all the classes and workshops still for all year.
And I got 25 seconds left, so tell me a little bit about the Freeze Brothers Band. Are they playing in this winter?
We are off for a month or so, a couple of months, and then we'll be doing some school concerts, I believe Manchester, Concord area, and then we'll have a full schedule for the coming year, outdoor concerts, bandstand concerts around the state, freezebrothersbigband.com.
Thanks for coming on the show. And if you have a story, you want to come on the show, please contact me at gatecitychronicles@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks for watching. We'll see you. Thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles. And we want to thank our sponsor, Avard Cleaning. They've been a sponsor for quite a few years now, and we appreciate them being a sponsor. And if you want to be a guest on our show, contact accessnashua@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story. Until next week, thanks for watching.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.